Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Well, this is the before. Mr. Clint sent this to me to get this thing cleaned up and modified. So we've got his four 2879s and two 2290s, and he wants to go to a straight 6. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to strip this puppy down, clean it all up, we're going to put a bigger relay in it, and we're going to modify it. So here we go. Okay, so down underneath all the shmoo and dirt, and I think was pop, because acetone wouldn't dissolve that, whatever this was. Window cleaner was barely making it soft, so I had to go buy a special Dremel brush, and I got in here and I just kind of orbed it out and got it all cleaned up so I'd have at least a semi-clean surface for me to solder to. I went ahead and I cut the pill strips away over here, and now I've got to relocate my 120 puff caps here. But I'm going to pull the two 2290s out, going to put two brand new Toshibas back in their spot, and then we're going to put BBI output transformers on here, and we're going to build this up BBI style. I'm going to throw a remote in this thing, but believe it or not, underneath all that filth, we've got ourselves a nice clean canvas to work from. We're even able to get all the dirt and the filth off the side of the cabinet, for the most part. And give ourselves somewhat of a clean surface area to start with. Now the lid, I don't know, I'm afraid to look at it. But I gotta give this guy credit. He had his personal information taped to the outside of this side of the cabinet, taped to the lid on the inside, and on this side. Super overkill, but brother, I give you an A for effort, and I really appreciate you participating like that. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, on that note, let's go. Let's turn this thing into a straight 6. You know, I went to a school one time to clean all the burnt shmoo out of the inside of this cabinet. And in this school, they taught me adapt, overcome, pay attention to the details, and modify. I'm here to tell you, the last couple weeks have been very trying for me, in the sense of being completely and utterly overloaded in every sense of the word. So, the guy that owns this amp, I'm apologizing to you if I am wiping the cookie-built rubber stamps out of the inside. Apparently this thing was built in, approved July 21st, 2011. Stamped here and stamped here. Cookie CB and accessories. Sorry if you're upset with me about that. I think you're probably a little more interested in me cleaning all the sticky pop out of the inside of your amp. You guys are not going to believe what the inside of this thing looks like. Because homeboy, it's a whole different monster. Okay. So we got a shmoo on the outside of this thing I got to clean off. I try to do this with every box. I try to make it as clean as I can before it leaves here. Just wanted to clean all the burn out of here. This is all scorched out black, and the fan looks like it's in relatively clean shape. It's alright, I'll live with that. Okay. I just want to work. Dear God, just let me work. We have built you something completely different. Now, when we cut away before, it was a 2x4, burnt to the ground. The board was completely black, full of pop shmoo, undersized relay, inadequate electrical system, inadequate combiner system. It had two 2290s driving four 2879s and put out 0 all for power. So instead of going and trying to retrofit the garbage that was in here, I just took it all out and literally threw it in the trash can. And I went ahead and I gave you a complete and total overhaul. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts left from the original amplifier. Everything else is 100% new. So I put the amplifier together and I couldn't figure it out. I had one section that was dragging, which was this one right here. And it was causing this output resistor to get a little warm. So I went ahead and I started checking everything. I figured out that 120 puff capacitor was down at 100. This one was down at about 85. The 300 puff capacitor here was at like 2 and 10. This one was at 300. So I just went ahead and I replaced everything. I replaced this capacitor, this capacitor, this capacitor. That helped it a little bit. Just a little bit. It was still dragging and I couldn't figure it out. So I went back to some of my hood rack tactics and I started really looking at things. And I'm like, well, I know my parts that I put in there are good. Okay. Let's see if we can get down on this one here for a second. I know the parts that I put in there were good because they're brand new. If you can see, there is this collar here has got a little bit of a cold solder joint. This is after me trying to reflow it. A little bit of a cold solder joint to it and was causing the transformer not to have full connectivity. So I pushed on the board and I checked it with a voltometer and I could get it to make contact and then I couldn't. I said, you know what, I'm not going to even bother with that. So I ripped it out and I replaced it with a brand new one. Okay, that's going in the garbage. Then we started looking at this transformer. And we've seen the same thing happening on the same side of the ferrite. I'm starting to get a cold solder joint right in there. You see that? Right down in there. What happens, there's a little microfracture that takes place all the way around the tube. And it's from when they put the transformer together initially. The press wasn't very well. What they do is they have the plate that's punched out. And before everything is soldered in a solder bed or in a solder pot, they take the ferrites, they slide them over the tubes, and then they put the plates on, then they put it in a press and go, bloop, and they flare the edges of the tube. Well, the flare wasn't very good on this one. The flare wasn't very good on this one. And moreover, I think that these are recycled parts out of a Messenger. Because of that. This right here. A little tab tells all. Because that's the tab that solders down to the trace that's on a Messenger board. So this amp might have been put together initially in 2011, but I think the parts are made in the 1980s. The only one that passed the test was this one, so I left it. But 98% of this box, short of the transistors, is new. You've got the power wire upgrade, you've got the new output transformers, the BBI output transformers, you got the metal dip Mylar capacitors, you've got a new input combiner, new output combiner, new input splitter, new output combiner. Got the capacitance tube in play. You got your fan all cleaned up. And short of the solder mess that's here down this side of the board, this thing looks pretty much like new. And boy, howdy did we have fun. It took everything I had to get the coffee pop stain out of this area on the board, as you'll see in this picture here. You'll see that there was a stain that was right here on the board. What I ended up doing is I stripped the board completely down, pulled all the parts off of it, and went over and I got super fine steel wool, and I ended up having to hand buff this thing. I could not get it to dissolve. I tried acetone, xylene, methyl ethyl ketone, regular electronics wash. I even tried window cleaner to see if I could get it to dissolve. The board was etched black. With the board being etched black, I wouldn't have been able to do any of the solder work in here, and it wouldn't have come up to my standards. So I went ahead and I just hand buffed the whole damn thing. Then I got a really fine Dremel brush, and I sat here and went, ooh, and orbed the whole damn board by hand to get it back up to where I wanted it to be. So Brother Clint, she's done. Let me put the lid on it. I'm going to make sure the fan works, and then we're going to test it. This is such par for the course for this amplifier. Every single time I turn around, I realize there's something that's not done right. Like the simplest things. Like, let's look at the fan. I go to put the fan on and I realize I got a positive and negative lead, but there's not a single bit of ferrite to change the induction on the wire to block any RF from getting up in here and screwing up the electronics. Unbelievable. So went ahead and added a ground tab, put a piece of ferrite on there, good to go. And Clint, I want to cover this real quick. This is your remote jack, by the way, that I added. You asked me to add. If you take the bottom pin here, which is pin 1, and pin 2 and close them together, the relay will turn on, the amplifier will run without the switch being on and off. That's your remote wiring code. Pin 1 is hot, pin 2 is a return, or otherwise a return back to here to get the relay to close. That's it. Let's put the lid on. Yay! Just want one goddamn thing to work on this piece of shit. Sorry, look. I go and put the lid on. I flip the fan on. The fan makes about 3 turns and then it starts smoking. Like smoke. Fan's junk, needless to say. So, let's see what's left. What haven't I had to replace on this thing? The coax connectors. Those are still robbed straight out of a Texas Star. So, sorry, Cookie. I'm not trying to say this was you because I highly doubt this was you, but this is getting silly. Well, let's see. Let's go over here. Dig through my giant box of goodies. Brand new 120 millimeter high flow, bad falutin, badass, kick ball sack in, fan, yay! It's like the grommet. I'll explain to you about the grommet. When you put an amp together, there's some basic things that you take for just take for granted. Like the guy that originally built the amp or whoever had it before him would have the most basic amenities in line, like a grommet around the LED. The most basic thing. The LED on the front of the amp, this thing. We're all familiar, right? Guess what? This amp did not have one. Shocker, I know. Now, I've had some cookie amps here that were just the shit. They just frickin' ran. I mean, like, it's like I was telling a customer on the phone. I said, man, I've had some cookie boxes here that they looked sharp on the inside. And man, they just frickin' ran. They just, amazing amount of power. Run great, ran cool, old school technology. I don't know if this thing was built on a Sunday. I don't even know if Cookie built this box. I don't think he did, because the way it was all laid out on the inside when we started was not the way I've seen the last 10 examples of a Cookie built amp. So I'm going to lean away from saying anything negative. Just gonna do my own thing. So put a super high flow fan on it. And I apologize right now for how loud this thing's going to be, but I don't regret it, because it's going to move a lot of air. This guy's going to have a badass time with it. It's going to be cool. Now let's see, is there absolutely anything else that is left over that I haven't had to put in here new? No. Okay. Oh God, that's gross. I discovered one other part I haven't replaced yet. I'll get you a new one. I don't know if I'm allowed to love or hate this amp at this point. Put that brand new Jamco fan on here. As soon as I keyed down the RF, took it out. So I started thinking, I'm like, man, I need a metal body fan. It's something that's not going to get RF in it. So I started digging around and I found myself this beautiful all aluminum RCB fan. That thing's tough. This has been the exact testament of my day. Just keep pushing forward because eventually you'll get it done. Okay, so let's run around the loop here real quick. We're going to start off in the 1,000 watt position. It's 1,000 watt in PEP, 1,000 watt silicon average, 5 watt silicon reverse back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. Ooh. We're going to use a 2950, 5 watt slug, 2950, 2 pill, and the straight 6. Let me change that. We're gonna change that. Okay. So with your new metal body fan installed, we are going to show you what our pass-through tune is. Our ability to talk through the amp. Nice and low. Okay, so we're on 14 volts. Right. 20 watts of drive. Right. Starting out from a 1 watt dead key. Right. Okay. Nice 500 watts with 20 whole watts of drive, right? Okay. Let's turn this off. Now let's hook up the Make It Do More Power box. Man. Dang it, BBI, wasting our precious lives. I'm taking from all of your guys' ability to be able to drink right now. I am taking that time away from you guys. As my friend AVE would say, wasting my precious life. Okay. That's what it is. I skipped a step there, you guys. I'm sorry. Forgot to show the input tune. Very important. Very important input tune. So you can do a couple of tricks with the box. You can take and jack the input tune way up, and it'll put out a bunch more watts on the watt meter. But you sound all garbled and compressed on the other end, and usually you end up blowing the finals out of the radio by doing that. So that's why it's so important to show that input tune, because you want to have a perfectly level, nice, low input tune going in the amp. And the other reason you got to show this, that little, 75 watt dollar slug and the $300 meter, the reason we have to have that there is to show that the output SWR isn't all messed up and it's not going to give you false power readings also. Okay, 20 watts of drive. Right on. Check it out. In the corner. Let's shut that down before we go and we change power level settings. See, that's what makes me happy, is making that needle wiggle. Just makes me happy. About 220-ish. 300 watts of power of drive. More than adequate for this little guy. We're going to put that up in the 2X position. So now how we're reading this, you guys, is this your 1,000 watt mark right here? Pink, 1,000 watt mark. 12, 14, 16. Okay? On a good day, this thing should do about 1,500 watts. We're going to do a little bit more than that. 16 plus. 1,700 watts. We're reading it right. Yeah. 12, 14, 16. We're doing about 16. 200 bird. It's far more than this amplifier's ever done in its entire life. I guarantee it. Clint, it's done, brother. And it feels like I've been working on this for 4 days, even though I've only been working on it for 2.5. And amongst a bunch of other really stressful stuff. Guys, I appreciate your patience. I'm doing everything I can to crank things out of here one at a time. I've got the big, giant $40,000 install going on in the driveway. It just came back from being programmed. So tomorrow we're going to neaten that up, and you guys will get to see what that's all about here in probably the next 24 to 48 hours. That has been a giant time suck and a giant stress thing for me. It has really occupied a great deal of my time. But from what I understand, what I did in 3 days, it would have taken a crew of 4 people almost 2.5 weeks. And I nailed it on the first try. So on that note, I gotta go. Let's see what's up next. What's in queue next? SP220 is in the queue next. So on that note, I'm out of here. Clint, you now have one of the most prized stickers in the world of radio today. That right there. If you ever choose to sell this thing, refer them back to this video. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and of course right here on the YouTube Gargler. And guys, remember, even if you're having a bad day, it's still no excuse to get mad at anybody. You just got to adapt and overcome, pay attention to details, and push through. Modify and succeed. I taught that at a school that I went to one time, way back in the day, down in California, in the ocean. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'll see you guys. Bye.